Welcome back. You're watching the official podcast of the new mega musical, Brother Joseph, the amazing true life story of Joseph and Emma Smith. I'm Brett Battaglia.
And I'm Truus Henbach. Thank you for joining our continuing conversation about the early days of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Are you ready for a deep dive into how it all began?
Absolutely. I think it's a fascinating period full of drama and twists and turns.
It really is.
And it's hard not to be amazed by what Joseph Smith went through.
Yeah, let's start with that first encounter with the angel Moroni.
Okay.
We're talking 1823. Joseph is just a young man, and this angel appears to him and tells him about these golden plates.
Right.
Plates containing an ancient history of people living right here in America.
I know. It's truly a remarkable story. And what's even more incredible is that he wasn't allowed to just take the plates.
Right.
Moroni made him wait 4 years, returning each year on September 22nd, before he was deemed worthy.
That's intense, 4 years of waiting, knowing these incredible plates are out there.
I know.
It makes you think about the patience and the discipline that it must have taken.
Right.
And all this while his family was struggling financially.
Oh, absolutely. The Smith family was living in abject poverty.
Yeah.
And, some people, especially those who knew about the golden plates, just assumed Joseph was after the gold they were made of. They even tried to steal the plates from him.
Wow, that's wild. Even though they were so poor, neither Joseph nor his family ever tried to sell or profit from the plates. I mean, if he was just a con man, wouldn't that have been the perfect opportunity?
That's a great point, and it really challenges the narrative of those who saw him as a fraud motivated by money. Because if that were the case, why go through all the trouble of translating the plates when you could simply sell them for a fortune?
Yeah, it's incredible. And it makes the support that he received from people like Joseph Knight Sr. all the more inspiring. I mean, here's this guy providing food supplies, even paper for Joseph to write on.
Yes.
It sounds like true friendship.
Joseph Knight Sr.'s role is really extraordinary. He recognized something special in Joseph, and he was willing to help in any way he could.
Yeah.
He even defended Joseph against those who accused him of being a money digger.
Wow.
He put his faith into action.
It's amazing to think how one person's support can make such a difference. And then there's the story of David Whitmer and his family taking Joseph and his scribe, Oliver Cowdery, into their home in Fayette, New York, when things got too dangerous in Pennsylvania.
Right.
They were willing to risk their own comfort and safety to help.
The Whitmer family played a pivotal role in the coming forth of the Book of Mormon. Imagine opening your home to someone who is facing such intense persecution. It speaks volumes about their character and their belief in what Joseph was doing.
And it's almost like their faith was rewarded, right? I mean, David Whitmer reportedly finished plowing his fields in half the usual time because 3 angels appeared and helped him, which allowed David the time to travel to Harmony and move Oliver and Joseph to Fayette.
That's right. It's one of those stories that just makes you wonder.
Yeah.
And on their journey to the Whitmer farm from Harmony, David, Joseph, and Oliver encountered an old man walking down the road. They offered the man a ride. As he took a seat in the wagon, David asked him where he was headed. The old man responded that he was traveling to Camorra, where Joseph had retrieved the plates. Startled by the response, David turned to Joseph. Once his eyes returned to the old man, the man had disappeared. It turned out that Joseph had been commanded to let the man carry the plates for safekeeping during their journey to the Whitmer farm, and that he would return them once the 3 men were close to Fayette and out of harm's way.
Wow. Do you think it's possible he was a heavenly messenger? Maybe even Moroni himself?
It's certainly a possibility. Whether you see these events as miracles or coincidences, they highlight the sense of divine providence that seems to have been at work throughout this entire period.
It's like something out of a movie.
It is.
Divine intervention, secret journeys, and mysterious helpers appearing out of nowhere. But in the middle of all this chaos, they still managed to translate the Book of Mormon.
Which is remarkable in itself considering the circumstances.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to focus on such a monumental task while constantly being harassed, threatened, and even physically attacked.
Right.
And let's not forget, they were still dirt poor throughout this whole ordeal.
Seriously, how did they even manage to eat? Were they relying on the kindness of others just to survive?
They were, and it speaks volumes about the dedication of those early believers, the Knights, the Whitmers, and others.
Yeah.
They weren't just offering emotional support, they were providing food, shelter, and protection to Joseph and those who helped him.
Right.
They put everything on the line for what they believed in.
It really makes you think about what motivated them. What did they see in Joseph that convinced them to make such incredible sacrifices?
Well, there's the story of the witnesses to the plates. Remember those 11 men?
And 3 of them were shown the plates by an angel.
Right. And 8 others, including members of both the Smith and Whitmer families, said they held and examined the plates.
Right.
These weren't just casual acquaintances. These were people deeply connected to Joseph.
That's a great point. And they weren't shy about sharing their experiences, were they?
Not at all. Their testimonies became a core part of the Book of Mormon's story. They faced ridicule and disbelief, yet they stood by their claims.
Knowing what they were up against, the poverty, the attacks, the constant threat of violence, you've got to wonder what would drive these men to make such bold claims if they didn't truly believe they were telling the truth.
Exactly. It's one thing to believe in something, it's quite another to maintain that belief in the face of such adversity. It really speaks to their conviction.
And speaking of conviction, we need to talk about the translation process itself. It sounds almost otherworldly. Tell me about these special instruments Joseph used, the Urim and Thummim.
Well, they're mentioned in the Bible, and in Joseph's time, they were thought to be 2 stones set in silver bows like a pair of spectacles. He would place them in a hat to block out the light.
So he didn't even look at the plates while translating.
That's right. He would look into the Urim and Thummim and dictate the words that appeared.
Wow.
It's a process that sounds incredibly difficult to fake, especially under such intense scrutiny.
It sounds mind-blowing. It wasn't always easy, was it?
Not at all. There are accounts that suggest Joseph's ability to translate was tied to his spiritual state. He couldn't translate if he was angry or upset with anyone.
Wow. So it wasn't simply a matter of deciphering ancient texts.
Right.
There seems to have been a deep spiritual connection involved.
The translation of the Book of Mormon is a story in itself.
Right.
And it's made even more incredible by the relentless opposition Joseph faced.
You're right. The opposition went way beyond accusations of being a money digger. Didn't they face threats of mob violence?
They did. There were attempts to discredit Joseph through the courts, pressure from religious leaders, and even physical attacks on those who believed him.
It's hard to imagine going through all that while also trying to bring forth what you believe to be a new book of scripture.
It really makes you wonder how he kept going, how he didn't just give up.
Well, maybe those experiences, the miracles, the support from people like the Knights and the Whitmers were signs that he was on the right path.
It's certainly possible. They definitely reinforced the idea that something extraordinary was happening.
Okay, so we've talked about the angel Moroni, the poverty, the plates, and even the translation. But what about the content of the Book of Mormon itself? What did those early believers find so compelling?
Well, one of the central themes is the importance of Jesus Christ and his role as the Savior. It presents a unique perspective on Christianity, and
Hold on, you're saying it's a Christian text, but it tells a different story.
that's one way to put it. The Book of Mormon claims to be a record of Christ's visit to ancient inhabitants of the American continent, which adds another layer to his story.
Wow, that's a pretty bold claim. No wonder it sparked controversy.
It did. People weren't exactly lining up to embrace this new revelation, especially coming from a young, uneducated man like Joseph.
And yet it took root. People believed him.
They did, and they spread his message, enduring persecution and hardship, all because they felt they had found something truly special. It makes you think, what is it about the Book of Mormon that resonates so deeply? Why were they willing to sacrifice so much for it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is it about the book, about the story of Joseph Smith that continues to inspire millions of people around the world today?
Yeah, it really is a captivating story, isn't it? You've got these incredible accounts of hardship and faith and miracles. It's a lot to process.
It is. And, one of the things that often gets overlooked is just how precarious those early years were.
Right.
I mean, they were constantly on the move, hiding the plates, even defending them from people trying to steal them.
Absolutely. Remember, they were seen as incredibly valuable, both for their religious significance and their potential monetary worth, as gold artifacts. So Joseph and those who supported him had to be extremely vigilant in protecting them.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. It adds a whole other level of intensity to the story. I mean, imagine trying to translate an ancient record while also worrying about people attacking you for it.
It's mind-boggling. It makes you appreciate the sheer determination and courage of those early believers.
It does, and it makes the story even more fascinating. But let's get back to the Book of Mormon itself. What about its message? We talked about it being a Christian text, but one that presents a unique perspective. What did it teach that was so different?
Well, one of the things that set it apart was its emphasis on personal revelation. The Book of Mormon teaches that God continues to speak to humanity, that revelation is an ongoing process, not something that ended with the Bible.
So it's not just about accepting what's already been written, it's about seeking your own connection with the divine.
Exactly. And that message really resonated with people who felt disillusioned with the traditional religious structures of the time.
Right.
They were hungry for a more personal, more direct experience with God.
It makes sense. And it seems like that message of personal revelation tied in nicely with the story of Joseph Smith's own experiences. I mean, if God could speak to a young, uneducated farm boy like Joseph,
Yeah.
then couldn't he speak to anyone?
That's a really insightful observation. And, that idea that God is accessible to all, regardless of their background or social standing, was revolutionary at the time.
Right?
It challenged the existing power structures and offered hope to those who felt marginalized.
It's incredible to think how a story that began with a young man, an angel, and some golden plates could evolve into a movement that now spans the globe.
It is, and it all circles back to the incredible resilience of Joseph Smith, the unwavering faith of those early believers, and the power of a message that resonated with people seeking something more in their lives.
It's a story that keeps unfolding, isn't it? There's so many layers, so many perspectives.
Absolutely.
I can't help but think about those who were skeptical, those who saw Joseph as a fraud.
Yeah.
What do you think their perspective might have been?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Joseph's claims were and still are extraordinary. So for those who are grounded in a more rational, empirical worldview, it's understandable why they might have questioned his story.
That's a good point. It's a story that challenges our notions of what's possible, that asks us to grapple with the intersection of faith and reason.
It does. And I think the most important thing is to approach this story with an open mind, to consider the evidence, the testimonies, the historical context, but most importantly, the text of the Book of Mormon itself. Joseph Smith emphasized that the Book of Mormon is its own best witness.
It all comes down to faith, doesn't it?
It really does. And it forces us to ask, what are the different ways we come to believe in something? What constitutes proof for each of us?
Thinking about the Smith family's poverty during all of this,
Mm-hmm.
it just adds another layer of awe to the story.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that these events weren't happening in some grand palace or opulent setting. This was rural New York in the 1820s, a time and place far removed from what we might traditionally associate with the divine revelations.
But true.
It wasn't ancient Jerusalem or anything. It was a young man facing very real, very earthly struggles, yet at the same time entrusted with this incredible mission. It makes you rethink where and how God might be working in the world, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it makes the opposition that Joseph faced even more poignant.
Despite the ridicule, the threats, the attacks, Joseph persisted. And people like Joseph Knight Sr. and David Whitmer, they didn't need physical proof to believe. They saw something in Joseph, something that resonated with their own faith.
Right. That's a powerful testament to the strength of their convictions. They were willing to stand by Joseph even when it meant risking their own reputations and facing hardship alongside him. It speaks volumes about the human capacity for faith and loyalty.
And it highlights such a crucial aspect of this whole story. That human element woven into these extraordinary events. Yes, we have angels and gold plates and divine revelations, but we also have ordinary people making sacrifices, showing kindness, and ultimately helping to bring forth something they believed in.
It's about the everyday acts of courage and compassion and unwavering support. It's about the Joseph Knight Seniors and the David Whitmers of the world who choose to believe, even when it's difficult, even when it seems impossible.
So what does this all mean for us today? What can we take away from this deep dive into Joseph Smith's story? A story filled with both the miraculous and the mundane, with divine interventions and human struggles.
I think it's a call to look beyond the surface, to recognize the extraordinary within the ordinary. It's a reminder that faith can manifest in countless ways, through acts of kindness, generosity, and unwavering belief.
It's a call to be open to new possibilities, to seek truth with a sincere heart, and to remember that even in the face of poverty, opposition, and the everyday challenges of life, the power of faith can shine through.
Beautifully said. Sometimes the most profound discoveries are made right in our own backyards, if we're willing to look with open minds and open hearts.
This deep dive has truly been an incredible journey. It's left me with so much to ponder, so much to appreciate about the complexities of faith, the power of the human spirit, and the mysteries that continue to shape our understanding of history and belief. Thanks for joining me on this journey. We'll see you next time as we continue to explore the incredible early history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with music from the new mega musical, Brother Joseph.
The golden plates.
The ones the angel found.
The Book of Mormon. judgment was on them.
He found him in the ground.
Then angels and more visions came down. None of us will be the same. As Joseph thought to ask the Lord.
That's how the gospel got restored.